Single-player video games, particularly open-world games, can provide an unparalleled level of immersion, and when done properly, can take our breath away with gorgeous views and memorable experiences. The Legend of Zelda series is no stranger to success, with 1998 classic Ocarina of Time being hailed as the greatest video game ever made on Metacritic, and in the eyes of many, many fans. So what makes Breath of the Wild, the modern classic released in 2017, such a standout for an already fabled and beloved series? Well, that is what I wanted to give my opinion on today, because it is my belief that The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild is the single-player game of our generation. With the recent announcement of The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, the long-awaited sequel to Breath of the Wild finally happening, there is no better time to reflect back on the absolute masterpiece that was Breath of the Wild. For starters, it achieved true open-world immersion in a way that no game before or after has done through its ingenious sense of freedom and discovery. With a simple map, the UI not being cluttered, and the main way to discover something interesting being quite literally seeing it with your own eyes in front of you, and then trekking off to discover it, Breath of the Wild truly manages to make the player feel like they are Link, journeying towards the beautiful vistas of Hyrule only to find something special. A key difference between Breath of the Wild and other open-world experiences is that every time something looked interesting in Breath of the Wild from far away, it actually was interesting once you arrived. There was almost always a unique side quest, piece of treasure, a shrine, or a secret waiting for you at your destination, making for an incredible payoff after a long journey. Breath of the Wild isn't about repeating the same objective over and over again, or finding the exact same reward at every interesting place on the map. It is about literally seeing something interesting or beautiful with your own eyes and taking a long journey towards it. And once you arrive, being able to explore with absolutely no restrictions. You can travel anywhere in Breath of the Wild thanks to Link's abilities to climb any surface. You can scale literal mountains and then use another ingenious tool added to the game, the paraglider, to soar off of that very mountain for miles and miles through the cold night sky, enjoying the unique and gorgeous skyboxes along the way. Those two things in particular, the paraglider and the ability to climb any surface, no matter how vast, add hours of life into the game and turn the desire of the player to explore and discover up to maximum. After all, the desire to discover is essential to the fantasy of an open-world, single-player experience. With its sense of freedom alone, Breath of the Wild could have been a modern classic, but that doesn't even scratch the surface. It has a beautifully told story that the player literally pieces together through Link's lost memories, which of course are found through additional exploration. You feel like you are on an emotional journey with Link, as he remembers who he is, what he fights for, and who he cares about. Seeing Zelda break down in Link's arms during the return of the Calamity makes you care about saving Hyrule, about protecting the people closest to you. Calamity Ganon is almost like a mindless monstrosity that no longer resembles the man Ganondorf we know him to be from classic Zelda titles. Instead, he is now hatred incarnate, unhinged chaos with unstoppable power. Only through recovering Link's lost memories of the four champions, Mipha, Daruk, Rivali, and Urbosa, can Link discover the great sacrifice his old friends made 100 years ago, and avenge their tragic passing by reclaiming the four mighty divine beasts, which are the full-scale dungeons of this Zelda entry. And only with their divine powers will Link and Zelda have a chance at finally stopping the rampage of Calamity Ganon once and for all. This storytelling through fragmented memories is subtle, and that's what makes it beautiful. The sacrifice of Link's champion friends and the personal sacrifices Zelda is making as she faces Calamity Ganon alone in Hyrule Castle, awaiting the return of the hero, all while she struggles internally with finding her purpose as she grapples between the desire to pursue science and her duty as princess are emotional enough plot lines to drive you, the player, forward as Link towards slowly powering up enough to face the malice that awaits in Hyrule Castle, which is placed directly at the center of Breath of the Wild's huge open world, swirling in chaos, a constant reminder of the endgame, of the goal that every second of exploration and every shrine conquered is working towards. Hyrule Castle is a threatening area, nearly impossible to survive in the beginning of the game, though you are free to go there very early on, which is a great design choice as its location in the center makes it feel like an all the more important area. Its chaotic and destructive nature makes you want to go out into the world, explore to become stronger, regain your strength and memories, and save Hyrule. I'd quickly like to mention the 120 shrines and 4 Divine Beast dungeons. I want to say that the puzzle design, like always in Legend of Zelda, is top-notch. Level design is Nintendo's specialty after all, and unique physics-based puzzles with the Sheikah Slate's bomb, time, magnet, and ice powers that you obtain in the very beginning of the game all lead to satisfying and mentally stimulating dungeons in the Divine Beasts and mini dungeons of the shrines. With 4 full dungeons and 120 mini dungeons with the shrines, there is no shortage of quality content. Once you complete enough of the shrines to have a minimum of 13 heart containers, which you can acquire one every 4 shrine completions, you can journey to the top of the map, into the mysterious lost woods, following the direction of the flame of a torch all the way to the Great Deku Tree, where Princess Zelda herself left the legendary Master Sword for you. And once you claim it, you can truly feel Link power up in the way I mentioned earlier. You can feel like you are closer to the endgame, regardless of how many of the 4 Divine Beasts you have conquered thus far. Eventually, likely after dozens of hours of exploring the massive world, you journey to the dreaded castle in the middle of the map, no longer afraid, but instead confident, motivated, with the legendary Master Sword in hand. Once inside, and once you have worked your way through a brutal labyrinth of the hardest enemies in the game, like guardians and ferocious Lynels, you stand at the door of Calamity. Looking inside the top of the castle area, you know the final boss awaits. As the memories revealed, it was only when Link was on death's door trying to save Zelda 100 years ago that her long slumbering divine royal powers finally awakened within her. And now, it is only through Link's desire to make things right, save Zelda and his kingdom, and your hours of preparation as the player that this moment has finally arrived. It is time to face the Calamity. The massive divine beasts immediately eliminate half of the boss's health with massive energy beams, giving Link a fighting chance against the monstrosity that is Calamity Ganon. After hitting some well-timed shield parries, which is another great mechanic introduced into this entry of Legend of Zelda, you will eventually slay the beast. Or so you thought. Cue Phase 2. Calamity Ganon is now Dark Beast Ganon, a massive incarnation of hatred and malice, and this phase fought with the bow of light that Zelda heavenly bestowed upon you while on horseback is more of a victory lap and thematic experience than a fight. And in my opinion, that is a perfect way to end this game. Why not make a game where most of the playtime is about beautiful scenery, massive landscapes, have a final boss thematic and massive in scale? Finally, peace has been restored to Hyrule. Link and Zelda are reunited after 100 years, and your journey has come to an end. There is still likely plenty of the massive world to explore, though, after you beat the main story, and now you can explore the world with a sense of relief, knowing that all is well. In summary, The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild is the game of our generation because of its unrivaled sense of freedom and discovery, and its subtle yet beautiful storytelling, keeping you invested in the outcome of the world in which you are exploring every gorgeous section of. Tears of the Kingdom will have huge shoes to fill as it attempts to follow a modern masterpiece, but I will never underestimate The Legend of Zelda as a franchise, and I know we are likely in for another special experience next May. Thank you all for listening, hunters. This is Autobot Dawson, rolling out.